Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Off the Bench. Where tonight we've got with us, we've got Roscoe, we've got Guy, and you got me, Brado. Round 7 teams have just been announced, and it looks like a jam-packed weekend of football about to hit us once again. How you going there, Roscoe? How'd your team go this week?
Yeah, I actually had a good round this week. I got 1353, which moved me up about 16,000 places to about 11,862. So pretty happy with that. But obviously, as the usual, I end up looping Trill's 146 and then copped Almonia's of A for 11. If I had just kept the C on Cleary and played forward because I took the RL forward as well. I probably would have got over 1,400, but look, I'll take it. I'm very happy with that score and very happy that I've moved up that many places.
Oh, mate, good shit there. You're going well. How'd you go, Guy?
Not as good as you two boys. I'm still happy with the score. Put up a 1265. Jumped up about 4,000. Sorry, 2,500 spots. I'm up to about 12k. So Roscoe's just jumped me. What went well? Obviously, Captain Cleary didn't play AKP like most. That was against me Dragons, and although I played Garrick, that quite hurt. I didn't have too many high scorers that pushed out those big hundreds apart from Cleary, but I had quite a few consistent scores. So all in all, not too unhappy either.
Oh, mate, sounds good. Consistency is where it's at sometimes.
Yeah.
I got a 1341, I think it was 1341. I'm around about 7,000th place, 7,000 something. What went well? Obviously, Captain Cleary, love him, captain him. What went real bad is I was at a family function and I didn't even look at my super coach for a couple of games, and I suddenly realised the next day that I had the reserve stuck on Schuster still, quite stupidly, and then I flipped out and quickly tried to change a few things, but I couldn't. So it meant that Hammer had to sit on my bench doing absolutely jack shit. And then I had to reserve Stefano. So that cost me an awful lot of points there, which is a bit disastrous. Roscoe's turned his face up that one already. That's a shocker.
Where's your
All right.
priority? I want to know where your priorities lay at, mate.
Oh, look, you do that every now and again. I remember one year there, I actually, and I was deep in the top 100, and I actually forgot to check my captain, and I went and captained somebody who wasn't playing, and then Turbo posted up one of his 160s, and I had Turbo on my team, and every now and again, with a busy life schedule, sometimes that can happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of super coaches have got similar sort of stories where they have done something dumb because they got way too busy. All right, we might as well jump straight into this week's. We're sort of going to change it up this week. We're not going to have a look at the games from last week too much. We'll discuss them briefly when we have a look at our team list for this week. But Roscoe, team list Tuesday's hit. What have you got for us there, mate?
All right, so we'll just quickly run through this. So first game, we've got Dolphins against Titans. No, that's not right. Oops. Dolphins against South. I'll stuff that up. So for the Dolphins, Jesse Bromwich returns from injury, replacing Jared Wallace is out with concussion. JJ Collins comes onto the bench. Robert Jennings plays his first game for the Dolphins with Edric Lee out injured. Raystone starts with Aaron Manesse dropping back to the bench. For South, AJ returns from concussion. Tane Milne drops to reserves. Jai Arrow returns from injury with Tabitha Toll out injured. Sharks versus Roosters. Sharks, Toby Rudolph is out, replaced by Bruce Hunt. Start. Dolphin Cane's out suspended with Cam McKenna starting lock. And then Wade Graham, Organ Kafusi, and Tom Hazelton come onto the interchange bench. For the Roosters, James Tedesco returns from concussion with Joey Manu moving to the centres, and Drew Hutchinson moves back to the interchange bench. Matt Lodge returns via interchange bench, replacing Fletcher Baker, who's out with concussion. Also to note too, with the Roosters, New South Wales Cup this week, they are going to be loaded because they got Dylan Napa and Angus Crichton, They've got Billy Smith, they've got Paul Morosky, and I think there's one other player coming back by New South Wales Cup from injury this week too. Manly versus Storm. Ruben Garrick's out with concussion, replaced by Raymond Vega. Cooper Johns replaces KO Weeks at 5'8", dropping back to the bench. And Aaron Woods and Sipley come onto the interchange bench with Kepi and drop into reserves, and Carl Lawton is out injured. For the Storm, Nick Bean is out with concussion, with Cam Munster moving back to fullback. And Jonah Pezzett starts at 5'8". Warriors versus Cowboys. Warriors team, Murray Martin's out injured, with Dylan Walker shifting to 5'8". Taylor Harris has been named once again, with Jazz Tavanga dropping back to the bench. Wade Egan is out with concussion again, with Freddie Luck to start hooker. For the Cowboys, Jeremiah Nanai returns from suspension, with Griffin Neme out injured. I think he's out for like 2 months or something. Murray Talangi returns from injury. Brendan Elliott dropping to reserves. Knights versus Panthers. Jaden Bradley's out injured, with Phoenix Crossland to start hooker. Tyson Gamble returns from concussion at 5'8". Panthers, no changes. Titans versus Broncos. Titans, Kieran Foran returns from injury, replacing Toby Sexton, who's out injured. For the Broncos, Thomas Flegler is out with concussion, replaced by Corey Jensen. Toby Hetherington joins interchange bench. And for the Raiders versus Dragons, Jordan Rapana is out with concussion, replaced by Nick Kotrick. Jack White returns from suspension, with Brad Schneider dropping to reserves. For the Dragons, Francis Muller is out suspended, replaced by Zane Musgrove. Ravalava is out injured, replaced by Tate Moga. Eels versus Dogs. Junior Paulo returns from suspension, with Warramura Greg dropping back to the bench, and Jack Murchie drops to reserves. For the Dogs, Addo Carr's out injured, replaced by Braden Burns. They do get a few players back, with TPJ returning from injury, with Ryan Sutton dropping back to the bench. RFM's back into the side, with Harris and Edwards dropping out. Kickout returns from concussion, with Corey Waddell dropping back to the bench. And they are your changes for this week. Guys, anything of relevance there? Obviously, Dewey, we did mention because they're on the bye. He's out for the season. Anything else you want to talk about on the teams there?
I think the main ones, would obviously Dewey, ACL long term. Garrick also not being named this week with concussion protocols. But yeah, though apart from that, nothing too unhappy with team lists.
Can I ask you if you've got Garrick, knowing that they're playing the Tigers next week, do you hold or do you sell with that cash?
Oh, I'm a definite hold. Same with Turbo. I find it crazy that people are selling either, even with a high BE. Like you said, they've got Tigers and then Titans the following week. So, if you trade them now, I think you'll be looking to get them back in, especially when they play that first bye, in Ruben's case. So I'll definitely be holding them. Even if it was 2 weeks, I'd probably still hold. I would have held Ruben with his 11 days if it went over 2 weeks. But, are you selling?
I don't have Garrick. Turbo, I was contemplating selling, but I think I'm just going to hold. But I'm concerned by his injury, though. He's definitely not 100%. But knowing that he's playing the Tigers next week, I think you should be holding him if you can. I really think. I mean, I can see a lot of people obviously going to probably Lachlan Miller, or potentially going to Reece Walsh. So I don't know. What do you think, Brad?
Oh, I think it's making some wild form of tea leaves if you're going to be selling either of those two with the Tigers coming up. Yeah, just crazy. Yeah, Garrick is if it was 2 to 3 matches, then maybe. But yeah, he's 1 week. Tigers coming up, you're holding. Yeah, you must have no other problems in your team. If you don't have any other problems in your team, then maybe do it. But yeah. I'm sure all 3 of us and other people have got other problems in their team that they've got to try to address before getting rid of a gun like Garrick that's going to be coming up against the Tigers the week after.
Yep. Agree.
And also,
you go, guys.
Sorry, the last one on the team list that you mentioned was Schuster in the extended squad. Like if you didn't have him, I've had him since round 1, but a lot of people are contemplating whether to bring him in. I certainly wouldn't be bringing him in unless he's going to be in there for a starting team, because even if he does come off the bench, or even if he does start, I'm not sold on his score being worthwhile of playing in the 17 anyway. So I don't see the Schuster trade in personally.
The only way I can see it doable is if you're trying to get rid of Hopgood and you want to downgrade. I don't mind the Hopgood to Schuster trade. Like, really don't. I don't hate that, but I wouldn't be bringing Schuster in at 5'8", though. I think it's just wasted there. Anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you probably saw. I did put up an article on the off the bench Facebook page, and did mention a strategy which some people have spoken about to me, whereby you bring in Schuster, or you have Schuster already, and you move him down to 5'8", get rid of some of your crap from down there, whether it be Dewey or otherwise, and then strengthen up your second row. Now, why this comes into play is because the second row position, and you have a look at it, I think it's actually nearly the top 15, certainly definitely the top 10 second rowers, averages are better than every 5'8" running around except for Cam Munster.
Yeah.
So the logic is what you can do is strengthen up that second row and just put a numbnut down there in the 5'8", because it's such a basket case of a position at the moment. And really, there's a bunch of people who are probably going to get you 40 points every single week. Just live with that, but really strengthen up your second row. So that's where that theory and strategy sort of comes from.
The only thing
yeah.
thing I wouldn't be doing is I wouldn't be having Katoa as my main 5'8", though. I wouldn't suggest that to anyone.
Well, I don't think, personally, myself, I wouldn't be doing it long term. But it does also make a bit of sense, because I think Brown's going to come down a bit more, like Guy said. This week might not be the best week to bring him in, but mind you, the draw does look juicy, and he could just go off as well. So, that is a risk you're going to take. So that could be an option there too, just waiting that time. Trying to maximise your cash position. Now, any news on in Rabbitohs? We've got Jacob Host starting still in the second row. Any news on the injuries there that are pushing him into the starting position? It was at Jai Arrow.
Well, Jairo comes back into the team this week.
He's playing prop.
He's playing prop because
Totola's
out.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if they're missing anybody else.
The Cheekham's, I think, around there.
Cheekham's on the extended bench.
But
and he was starting. He was second row to start the year over.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's an interesting one there, because he's only like just over 300,000, Jacob Host, and he's running around. I had a look today. He's running around about 1.1 ppm. I think you'll find. Certainly, it's reasonably decent. So people looking for that downgrade option, you could go a lot worse than what he's been doing, and his minutes have been increasing every single week too. But that's come with getting a starting spot, because obviously when he first came in about 3 weeks ago, he didn't. Anyway, Jacob Host could be one to look at. What are you guys thinking about that one?
Yeah, look, he's a downgrade option for me from Hopgood, actually, to make my other two trades work. So I've been, obviously can't go by his last score, but he did get 80 something on the weekend. But I think he did score a try. But yeah, look, he looks good. So, and South look good too. So I don't mind it at all.
I'm a bit more worried about cheapy forwards, second row and prop. Just with the minutes, there's Harmy Celia as well with the Souths. There's a few, I don't know. I just don't think if his PPM on an edge is going to be strong enough with the minutes that he's going to get. I personally, if I'm going to look for someone like 300k or 350, a bit cheaper for the buys, I'd be more inclined to look for a centre wing and just hope that they bag a try or two in that bye week. Because all of them are going to play 80 minutes. So that's the luxury of the backs. Whereas with the forwards, I think it's just, especially this far out from the bye. obviously you won't play him in your 17, but you want him to hopefully play at least the first bye or two to be worthwhile to play then. Otherwise, if you're never going to play them, you might as well go enough.
Yeah. Yeah, he did get 74 minutes, by the way, last week, Guy.
Yeah. Even at the Dragons, he did have a few high minutes games, but his PPM's just, and that it's also comes with being on an edge rather than being in the middle, but his PPM's just never that high. And yeah, I just think in that Souths team, I think when Totola comes back, it's going to push Arrow back to either an edge or lock, but then you got Murray there. Like, there's just a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
Koala's the one I really like at Souths. He's been playing 80 minutes. But yeah, he's a lot more expensive.
well, only about 700k.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the only 3 Souths that I want, because with the buy coming up, obviously I want Trell, but not for the buys. It's just Cody, Koala, and AJ. They're the main 3 I'm looking at for that first buy.
In that same game, that first game, we also, the other real interesting one is Ray Stone being named to start at 280,000. His minutes have been increasing every week, so obviously Bennett's liking something there to be increasing his minutes every single week, and now he's starting him. Any thoughts on that? Whoever?
Mate, I got no idea with the Dolphins. I haven't owned any of their players, and I've just been burnt. Like, I've talked the hammer down, and he's come out and just gone mental. Saying, and then what about you, Brad? You're the one who went Tommy Gilbert. How'd you end up with him?
Oh, geez, I must admit I liked him from the outset, from pre-season. He always had a very good PPM, good work rate up there at the Cowboys. Young fella, named captain, leader of the pack. I just thought that at his price he was going to be I'm not even look like selling him at the moment.
Yeah, he was definitely the go over the likes of Welch and Safidi and all the others that people went.
I wish I had started him over Welch. Welch has been very underwhelming this year. Not getting the minutes or anything either. But on your point on Ray Stone, like, I had him in my team all pre-season, Brad. I had him in there, but then obviously he didn't start, and I didn't even think he was even on the bench or anything for the first game. It's just like I said, it's just the unknown. That's the thing. Like, you've got what's his name to come back into the team, Kafusi to come back into the team next week as well. I know he'll go onto an edge probably or something like that, but yeah, I just don't know. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Geez, he looks a lot like Cotter, eh? A hooker who turns into a front rower. I mean, wouldn't we like some of those price rises again this year? Yeah. The second game of the round is Roosters versus Sharks. Anybody got any thoughts here? It looks pretty straightforward, the team list. Nothing really to both teams look very settled in there. This is going to be a cracking game. Just an absolute cracker of a game.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if there is some changes to the bench for the Roosters. I think Angus will come into that team, whether he starts or he comes off the bench, I don't know. And I reckon there's a good chance that there'll be a couple others come in potentially there as well. Maybe another forward comes into that team potentially as well. So, because they've got Nathan Brown now too, don't forget, playing New South Wales Cup this week for the Roosters. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two of them to come into that team as well.
Your vice captain going to come from that game?
No, my vice captain will come from the South game.
Oh, that's right. You're a Latrell owner.
I've got VC's locked on Trell and C's on Cleary. It's locked and loaded. It ain't changing.
Any thoughts on that game, Guy?
Yeah, well, obviously Nico coming off the bye, I think he's a must. I know a lot of people say they're versus the Chooks and they're a strong team, and you can wait a week. He's still going to go up cash. He's not going to drop even with a poor score. So yeah, I think he's a must, and yeah, just if you need to use a boost, like I'm using one to get him. It's my second one that I'm using for the season. But I think it's worth it. I think you just need him. Apart from that, the only other one that kind of did spark my interest was Teddy, because I'm running Walsh still with Turbo. I'm not going to sell Turbo, but my plan is I was thinking of going Walsh. Originally, I was going to go to Trell this week, but I'm thinking of just waiting a week or two, and you could probably make almost 200k of going Walsh to Teddy. So that could be useful around the buy. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. So I'm just going to have a watch on Teddy, hopefully for one or two more low scores. But apart from those two, Teague Wilton's been a good hold for those that had, but wouldn't buy anyone else personally.
On Teddy, guy, because I know you're going to defend your team here, but Roosters play Dragons next week, so it could be a good downgrade to go Walsh to Teddy next week. Obviously, depending on how he goes this week, what he scores.
Is it next week or the week? I thought it's Anzac Day. Isn't it 25th?
Oh, I thought someone said next week. Keep going. I'll have a look at it in a minute.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think you're right. It usually is Anzac.
Always is Anzac Day. We play them. But yeah. Apart from that, Lindsay Collins has done well for the Roosters up front, but they got Lodge back now. So
no, they actually have got the Dragons.
Okay, they might do it.
Wait, was it? Huh? Sorry. Sharks, Dragons, and then Warriors. Yeah, that's right. Because next, I don't know. I'm confused. Keep going. Keep going.
It's been a long day, folks. It's been a long day. We're all at the end of a 9-hour work day. So
it just says here that round 8 that they're playing against the Dragons, the Roosters. So that's next week. I don't know. I'm confused.
Sharks this weekend.
Yeah.
And then the following weekend at Dragons. Yeah. But they actually do play Dragons in round 12 again before the round before that first bye. So so they've got Dragons, Warriors, Cows, Panthers, and then Dragons again before that. So Teddy could go on them. Yeah, just at that price. I think rather than make your 200k of going like a Welch down to a almost enough, that's not going to get you any points in the buy. I really like. I know you boys are against it, but I really like the Kiraz trade to AJ or Lomax and pocket 200k and a good player for the buy.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I mean, I sold Kiraz to Trell last week, so I'm cheering. But I've got people who reckon that Kiraz is a hold, but to me, he's punching out good base, but he's not getting the attacking stats, and he's over 700k. He's going to start leaking cash soon. I myself don't see him as a keeper, but I don't know whether you guys agree or not. I know you're keen to sell him, but what's your thoughts on him, Brad?
Oh, yeah, no. I didn't have him in my plans at the moment anyway. Yeah. So I'm just going to be. I mean, I've got the Walsh and Turbo at the moment, so but I can't sell Walsh at the moment. He's too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, if you had Kiraz, would you be selling him now, or would you be hanging on to him?
No, I'd hang on to him.
Yeah.
He's in their keeper at this stage. Yeah. He's not doing anything wrong as far as what your points. Yeah. Don't forget, you got to score points in Supercoach, and he's getting points. So,
I don't think he's a sell. Like, I still think there is a world where he is a keeper. But just for me, I need to get Hines. He's obviously more priority, and I just think he's not going to play that first buy, so I might as well just pocket 200k and. I don't know. It depends on. It's all team relevant, depending on you.
All right, our next game is the Storm and Manly game. I'll quickly run over the Manly game, being a Manly tragic. Look, it's Storm don't put 40 on them, then there's something really wrong. I know it's a Battle of Brookvale. It's a home game for the Manly team. A really interesting one here is. Look, if you're going to get Cameron Munster, this is the week to do it if you can. Obviously, playing fullback. Jonah Pezzett, he's got a break even of -2. So if you've got trades up your sleeve, it's not such a bad thing to actually probably get him in. Take the cash rises you're going to get and then offload him, say, for a dual bags the following week or the week after that.
No, can't. No go. He's only available at halfback, bro.
Oh, is he? He's not available?
Yeah,
at
no,
Friday.
he's
Yeah, I
not.
was just
No,
looking
he's
at
not
team
dual
list.
yet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a real shit. Anyway, so apart from that, it really looks like a very strong team. And Manly look very, very weakened. I don't like that back line at all. Although Vega, he's a big 110 plus kilo winger. That should be interesting. It looks, but he's going to be opposite Coates, I think you'll find. So, yeah, we'll see how it all goes. Any thoughts, boys?
Oh, look, I think Storm in a canter in this one. Unfortunately, I think Garrick is a bit of a loss for them. We've seen that Turbo's not 100% either. Unfortunately, I think Munster at fullback. Like if I could get him this week, I would, but he's just too expensive for me. But he will run amok through that middle, that's for sure. And I'm scared to not own him this week. Hopefully, not too many of my opponents have him because I've got a feeling he's going big.
Yeah, Guy.
And yeah, same thing. I just don't know those that are picking up Munster where they're getting that money from, and if it's worth trading that player that they are. 820k is a lot of money, especially he's going to play Origin and not on the first buy. It obviously would be a pod play, but yeah, I just think it's one that I probably can't make. Do you think Harry Grant's a VC then? If you think Melbourne are specials?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's a very good VC. He's proven it all year. He's incredibly consistent. Munster, obviously, the VC. You know, look, Munster's only got a break even at 69, so he ain't going to be bleeding cash. He ain't going to be bleeding cash anytime soon. Actually, he'll be holding at that rate.
I think
cash, it's more just about where you're finding that cash to book.
Yeah, I think if you don't get him this week, then I think he's a hold off until after Origin. If you're not getting him this week, this is the week whenever before Origin for me. I'd love to get him after Origin, but he might be over 900k after Origin too, so he's going to be hard to get. So my question to you guys is, and I've seen a bit of this discussed in other chats, do you think that bringing in Munster is a priority trade over Hines this week? Like, given, is it something that if you didn't have Hines, that you could see yourself doing, or I'm seeing people do it, and I don't hate it, but I feel like he's going to go a lot bigger than what Hines is going to go this week.
I'm in that boat, and I just hate the 1 week trades. I'm more looking longer term, and Hines is easily going to outscore him over a longer period. And yeah, I don't think you can afford to go him this week and then Hines next week.
Will you though? Because they're both of those likely going to play Origin, so there's a chance that may not happen.
Yeah.
Hines is going to be there in that team for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I'm not sold. I've got a question for you on this game. Do you like the Elise Katoa trade out, maybe to an Ola or a Maddo for the buy?
No. Katoa's still going well. He might be a trade out before round 13, but I wouldn't be trading him out yet.
He's got a few more cash rises yet to go.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be going yet.
Where's his break even? Let's have a look here.
His break even's 79. He's not. His break even's higher than his average.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think he would have to go before 13 to a buy player. I don't think he's a.
I agree with you. I wouldn't be selling him yet though.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, if anything, I'd be nearly looking to sell someone else. Maybe Preston soon before Katoa. But he's still got a bit of cash to make. He's got a break even at 16. So
yeah,
So
I like the Preston to Taps or Tohu in the next few weeks.
Because they don't play round 13, the Dogs. So he'll definitely be selling a couple of weeks, Preston, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've got one more question for Brad, just because he's got the same fullbacks as me with Turbo and Walshy. He said he's going to hold Walsh. I'm just wondering how long he's going to hold Walsh for, because they've got Titans this week, but after that they run into Eels, Rabbits, Manly, Melbourne, Penrith. So it's one of the toughest draws over a 5-week period. And yeah, he's going to be almost 800K. If you hold and he drops, I don't know. I just kind of know are you going to hold all the way to that round 13 bye?
Geez, I wish I had a crystal ball and knew whether he's going to get selected for State of Origin or not. Although I think he is, personally. I've got a feeling he's edging his nose in front, but
might have a bench spot or be in that.
Yeah.
I can't see him picking Ponga for Origin. If he hasn't even played a game yet, I don't see him picking him.
I thought he was back round 8 or round 9.
Yeah, no, but I don't see him picking him for Origin though.
Well, it depends.
Don't see it happening.
He was there.
Yeah, Hammer though was his biggest opposition too. Hammer is certainly one that is being talked about a lot. But I think Walsh has got his nose in front there. Probably, I'm going to go the other way, Guy. I probably would be selling Turbo as my first sell, depending upon what happens over the next weekend or so. Like after the Tigers game, he could quite well go for me, and I might bank that cash, and then be looking at a Teddy one to run home up to Origin.
But
yeah.
Well, on top of Turbo, that's a main. Like that's the thing with Walsh. He's going to be up at 800K, whereas Turbo's 680.
Yeah.
So.
Just on Walsh, I don't own him, but I'll just have my say on this. I think he's a hold until at least after and I think he's a sell after the Para game. We've seen that Para can leak a lot of points. I wouldn't be selling him after the Titans game, but I'd probably, if I was selling him, I'd be selling him after the Eels game, before those Melbourne and other games. Could run back against Parramatta, I reckon, too.
Yeah.
Their edges aren't great for Parramatta, let's face it. Dunster was terrible yesterday. He had an absolute shocker. Then you've got, who else you got there? Sivo's not the best defender in the world either, to be honest with you. And then you've got buddy Sean Russell there as well. He's not great either. So
Simonson gone long term?
I'm not sure what the goes with Simonson. I know Wagga Blake's been dropped. So yeah, I don't know. It's not they don't have the best edges, Para. I definitely wouldn't be selling Walsh before the Para game.
Fair enough.
I think Wagga Blake hit up Rugby Union to see if he could do a transfer over to rugby.
Did you realise he's got a tackle in Rugby Union?
Oh, I don't know. I did chuckle when I read that.
They'll be using him as the bloody turnstile in bloody Union, right?
All right, okay. Warriors versus Cowboys. The Cowboys look like a Val Holmes. I've got Val Holmes, so I'm very happy that Drinky's back, because Val goes a lot better when Drinky's back. That's all that has to be said about that. And the only other thing about this game is Dylan Walker. Oh my good!
Oh my God! Talking about scraping the barrel.
Dylan Walker at 5'8". What do you reckon, Guy?
Mate, it's almost. I feel sorry for Rickster and the supporters. You know what I mean? It's just almost been as bad as a Tiger supporter, and they keep picking Brooks.
I'll settle down. We have to pay him. We're paying him at $1.3 million a season. Can't have him playing New South Wales Cup.
But what happened to Volkman, or that bloke they had last time?
No, so Volkman's named on the extended bench, I think.
Oh, okay.
So he's there, but obviously, I think we're all keen to see that bloke from the Sharks. Who was the bloke they bought from the Sharks but got injured? Metcalf, but he's indefinite still.
Yeah. No,
so
but Volkman only filled in a few weeks ago when.
Yeah, it was only 2 weeks ago when TMM was out. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, what about Holmes from this game? You think he's a hold still?
Oh God, yes.
100%.
Against the Warriors, definitely. Tell you what I like from this game. I talked him up. Well, I'm pretty sure I talked him up 2 weeks ago when Barnesy was on this show, and everyone said no. CNK, mate, he's still going strong. He got 92 points on the weekend.
460K though.
No, I'm talking about 2 weeks ago. I
Oh,
suggested the trade in. I wouldn't do it now, but I'm just saying 2 weeks ago I mentioned him, and he's been going strong. He's been. I wish I hadn't started him, mate. I really do. I'm spewing I didn't because he's been really solid. He has.
Oh, look, a good pickup for those that own him. I bypassed him for the hammer, so I can't really complain
Yeah.
too much. So, all right, the Knights versus Panthers. Wow, the Knights are really resurgent. Lockie Miller, to me, is the one in my team that has got away. I wish I could have him in my team. I should have jumped on him earlier. Marzu, for all the new owners, is doing what Marzu we know he can do. Although this week he has to actually do some tackling and a bit of defensive work. So that could be very interesting. I reckon To'o will be making him work for his paycheck there. Your thoughts there, Roscoe?
Yeah, geez. I wish I'd have got Marzu. I mean, for me, everyone was bringing in Marzu and Hoskins last week as a cash grab, and for me, it was more a case of if I follow the pack, I'm never going to catch up. So I didn't go Marzu and I didn't go Hoskins. Kind of regret not going Marzu because I know what he's capable of, but he's just his job security, mate. It might be okay now because he's scoring tries, but his defense isn't great. I do like Dom Young, and I also think To'o is eating for a big one this one. Guys, pretty keen on To'o, I know that, but so am I because I've got a feeling he could run amok this week against the Knights.
yeah, I brought in both those two, Hosking and Marzu. I've always liked Marzu, even when he was at the Gold Coast and had a different name. But the one that I'm really keen on, as Brad mentioned, was Lockie Miller. I see a world where after they've had the bye just before 13, you could probably go the Vow to Miller trade with Vow playing Origin. But yeah, I think he's definitely one you want before that first bye, especially kicking goals now, both sides of the field. Yeah, so with the To'o, I had him to start, as you know, went to Kiraz when they had the bye. I'd love to get him back in, but again, he doesn't play the first bye. He's going to play Origin. But yeah, he's just so solid. You know what you're going to get, and when he scores a try or two, he'll ton up like he did. Yeah, so my centre wings are a bit stacked, and I'd have to sell a buy player for a non-buy player. So yeah, I'm not too keen on it. Yeah.
What's your guys' thought on Bradman Best? He was another one I was going to mention. He's been flying under the radar a bit too.
Yeah,
he had a slow start to the season, but he's certainly. I had a look at him when he was just near 400,000. I thought, geez, he looks like good value, and a bit like Guy, I'm a bit stacked now in the centre region, so I've really got no room for him. But I wouldn't begrudge anybody who had got on him a couple of weeks ago. Not a bad move at all.
That whole backline's been good this year. Even Dane Gagai, I've got him in a couple of drafts, and he's been pretty solid. He's got me 180 in the last 2 games. He's another one that, you know, there's plenty of options. That whole Knights backline is all Supercoach relevant this year, really.
Yeah, no, yeah. Look, you know, Dom Young, he's a beast, but yeah, Lockie Miller, yeah, he's learning the game very, very quickly. You know, and Cleary could well be a good captain's choice in that game as well.
Yeah.
This is going to be a cracking game. The next one, Broncos versus the Titans. It's almost like a home game for the Broncos, but it is a Titans home game. Jaden Campbell's still back at fullback, of course. Everyone's favourite AE Nightmare, Khan Piera, has still been named. Still trying to find a way to move him on, which I'll try to move on soon. You know, David Fafita is obviously a very good option for those people that have still got Hop God. If you want to get rid of Hop God, well, he's certainly one to go up to, I think.
I've got to say, that game was so frustrating to watch on the weekend. Like, Calm Pereira was close to scoring 2 tries. David Fafita nearly scored 2 tries. Like, it was just so frustrating. As an owner, it was so frustrating to watch. I'm sure Guy was happy with it, no doubt. But
Mate,
as a Fafita and Calm Pereira owner, mate, that was hard to watch, Brad. It really was.
I'm with you because I own both, so I was very much with you. But Trafita's still about the third highest scoring, averaging second rower in the game at the moment. So, it's just frustrating.
And he's a long-term hold, or definitely up until Origin. With ATP, yeah, you can probably move him on whenever. I'm moving him on this week. But just with that game, it was just everyone thought there was going to be a lot more points.
I did too. Yeah,
there could have been. There was a couple of just like Dragons. I think bombed one in the first 5 minutes. Just had a simple one-on-one inside ball, and they bombed that.
Yeah,
quite open. Could have went a lot more points. The Broncos, I think, should do the Titans quite easily this week. I know they lost to the Raiders, albeit another one which is quite contentious. I still don't think that was a penalty. Poor Marty Tapau, but anyway. I think Broncos will put a number on them. Don't even mind Cobbo maybe as a pod. But yeah, Walsh is definitely, hopefully he scores well. Otherwise, he'll be gone for me.
There's been a couple I've looked at for this game that have been really underwhelming the last couple of games, and that's Stags and Farnworth. Like, they're two that have been on my watch list, and Stags in particular. Like, I keep saying to myself, don't go there again, don't go there again. But he's showing exactly why no one's going to him, because he just, especially against the weaker teams, he just doesn't turn up. He seems to go well against the good teams and underperforms against the shit teams.
Yeah, but the thing is with Walsh, he loves that cutout ball, so it'll go straight to Cobbo or Arthur's on the wing.
Yeah,
to score. So
just haven't seen it. That's
all right, the next game, going quickly through it, the Raiders and Dragons. Well, this could be the bludger game of the round. Sorry to both fans of both teams. There's not too much really Supercoach relevance sitting there. I know we all have maybe one or two players somewhere there, but Joseph Tapine, probably one of the more relevant ones, but his slide is just alarming. If you started the year with him, oh man, yeah, it would be very frustrating. Jack Bird's probably one of the more interesting ones in there at 13, starting to get some consistent scores. Any quick thoughts?
No, I think you're on the money there, Brad. Jack Bird's one I've been keeping on. I've got him in a couple of drafts. I don't know. He's getting very expensive, but I think he's up near 600K now, though. He's not cheap.
He's 16K off below his starting price, so that's where he started at. He didn't start cheap.
One name I'm going to mention, and we'll quickly go through some of the trade outs after we go through these weekend's games, but Jared Croker is high up on the trading list, boys. Now, I understand that people are wanting to use him as a cash downgrade to upgrade elsewhere, but surely with his job security and with Ricky's Russian roulette with the team, surely you can't. It's very risky to go him, isn't
it? Well, I've got nothing to tell you. No.
I'd rather spend a little bit extra, about the mid 300s, and get someone who's locked in for the buy, even if they aren't scoring well now. For example, who was one from? You could go Sloaney from the Dragons at 350. The one that I looked at was Kyle Felt at 350, just because he plays the first two buys. But yeah, I just think with Jared Croker, although he's kicking goals, you're not certain that he's going to play that first buy. So yeah, it's just a very risky play to bring in someone. You're not going to play him in your 17, and then they might not even play the buy either.
Yeah. The very last game was Parramatta versus Bulldogs. There's nothing. We've spoken a lot about Parramatta, so we won't speak anything about them because we already went through them a fair bit. The interesting bit here, Jacob Preston, who held his spot. I know, but that's probably a good throw now to get over to Guy for the trend targets of this week, because I think he might be appearing in one of those. Quite weirdly. So what's happening there with our buys and sells this week, Roscoe?
All right. So, okay. So our trade ins this week. So obviously, number one on the list is Nico. Makes sense. Number two, Sonny Luke, which I don't mind for those who possibly downgrading Cheese or someone else along those lines, or maybe a Tanner Boyd even potentially too. Um, Number three on the list is Cody Walker. I think we've already spoken about him. Number four is Cam Munster. Number five is Jared Croker, which we've already spoken about. I think we all agree is crazy. Number six on the list is your man, Brad, Tommy Gilbert. What's your thoughts on trading him in?
Oh, well, I think you should have done it 3 or 4 weeks ago. But he's look, it's a jewel. He's a lovely jewel that you can move around. So he doesn't have a very high ceiling though. So you're not going to get 90s to 120s out of him, but you are going to get your nice, 60s to 75s out of him.
He did put up 100 again.
Yeah, I know he did. He did. But he's not always going to be doing. He doesn't have the highest ceiling in the world, and even you're going to admit that his average is, about where he's going to pretty consistently sit. But you want consistency sometimes, and he's going to give you that. Yeah.
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it if you were doing like a Christian Welsh to Tom Gilbert. I think that's a decent trade if you ask me.
I would prefer though, probably, to spend maybe, well, what is it, 76k more and get a Tapane, or you could even wait a few weeks because Tapane's got the bye next week. But yeah, I just think I'd rather go for someone longer term. Whereas Gilbert's kind of at that 600k mark, where Tohu, for example, will be the same price as him next week. I'm not sure by now.
All right, number 7 on the list we've already spoken about. I think we both agree C&K, probably a bit too late to be bringing him in. Number 8's Nathan Cleary. Everyone should have him in their team. Number 9's another interesting one. Another Dolphins player is Jermaine Aistako. We know he's been on fire. At 652k, dual CTW fullback, would you be trading him in?
652k, no way.
Yeah. Good luck to you if you started him. He's made 270k.
Oh, sensational if you started him.
Yeah.
I actually had someone online this week have a go at me because he said, "Oh, you podcasters, you know shit. You none of you thought Osaka was any good. You rubbished him before the season started."
That wasn't Paul, was it? Was it?
No. No, it wasn't. But anyway, legitimately, the person was quite upset, and I actually can't remember ever rubbishing him, but based on previous years, I never would have started the year with him, I must admit, and it's one I missed. Yeah, I'll put my hand up and say, I missed that one, but not at 650, no way.
Especially when when the most traded out and you've got the likes of Ruben Garrick and even your Alamottis and AKs. Like, I just think it's too much cash to be spending on Isako.
Yeah. All right. Number 10's an interesting one on the list. Obviously, those jumping back on the Hammer train. Hammer's number 10 on the list.
I don't know what to say.
I've got nothing to say on that. It's obviously chasing points. That's all I'm thinking of right now.
I think he's average and think he can hold it up. But I definitely wouldn't be buying either of those two now at their price. Well done to started them, but yeah.
Isn't it going to be a bizarre week if 15,000 last week traded him out, and this week 15,000 trade him back in again? It's going to be very weird.
Oh my god, I love it. How could you not? How could you not love it? Seriously, it's just absolute classic. All right, let's have a quick look at the trade outs. Number 1 on the list, nothing to say. No, it makes sense. Jermaine Hopgood. Number 2 is Dewey. Makes sense. He's out for the season. Number 3 we've already spoken about, which I think we all agree is a crazy trade out, which is Tommy Turbo. Number 4 I think makes sense, which is Stefano. They've got the buy. He's made cash, starting to leak cash. I think he's a sell. You guys agree?
Yep.
Number 5 on the list is Wade Egan. Obviously not playing this week. Second Cat 1 concussion for him as well. So I think he's out for 2 weeks. So I think he's definitely a sell. You guys would probably agree on that, I'm sure.
I think it's his third concussion. He is a head knock just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Poor Blake. He's no, good luck to owners, but yeah, his time's up, I think.
Number 6 is Paul Almoni. I think I think if you can move him on, move him on, but I wouldn't be downgrading him. I'll look to upgrade him if you can. He's starting to leak cash now. Lost 27k last week. I think not a priority still, right, boys? But a sell if you can upgrade him. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 7 on the list is Ruben Garrick. No, don't do it. I'm pretty sure we all agree on that. Number 8, Tato Carr. Makes sense. He's out for a few weeks. Number 9 on the list is probably one that can wait, which is the Brick himself, William Warbrick. He's 390k. He has got a break even of 48 this week, which he may potentially not get. So, thoughts on trading him out, boys?
Oh, he's line ball, so he's about hit his he's about on his average, isn't he? So he's BE, so yeah.
And number 10 on the list is Cam Pereira. 441k. He's got a break even of 5, so he still has a little bit of cash to make. But obviously, we know if he doesn't score any tries this week, he might make you 5k if you're lucky, or $5 if you're lucky.
Yeah,
I think you can categorize all those three: the Alamotti, Warbrick, and AKP.
Yeah.
To get, it's just hit or miss. I mean, I'm selling AKP because he's the highest price, so you can get the most of it. But yeah, in terms of who do you hold and who scores more in the next few weeks, it's really hit or miss with those guys. I don't really want them in your 17. So like probably me and Brad have, we've stacked them up a little bit so we're not relying on those blokes. One I will mention that you went through was Stefano. I've got him, and I do think he's a hold if he's your third second rower. So if you got like me, Haas and Welch, say, and then him as your third one, you can. I don't think he's worth a sell to a front rower. But if he's your second one and you've only got like a Mawali and a Pele or something, or a Kepi or whatever, then you probably definitely need to upgrade. Do you think there's a world that can hold Hopgood for the buy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you've got Junior Paulo back into the team now. I can't see him playing any more than 30 to 40 minutes this week, and he's got a break even of 75. He's going to start to lose a lot of cash, and rapidly fast. If anything, like Guy, I think like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, sell him now, bring him back cheap for around 13 when he's going to get decent minutes with potentially 2 or 3 forwards out for Para.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I've got Schuster at 5'8" back up, so I can next week. I need to get D-bags in, so I'm probably going to go a second row, either Hopgood or Preston via Schuster to D-bags. But yeah, and the other one you mentioned, Wade Egan. Who would you sell him for? If you already had Grant and he was your second hooker, who would you sell Wade Egan for?
So I think most of them go to Sonny Luke, mate, as a cash downgrade. I think that's what most people will be doing. I mean, let's face it, other than him, the only other one I would be looking at was probably the Reece Robson or JMK, but they're both pretty expensive now.
Yeah, Robson was actually okay. I didn't mind him because they play the first 2 buys. Yeah, and he's I think he's come down a little bit in price. Actually, he's come about 50k down in price, but
yeah, Reece Robson's definitely one I'll be keeping an eye on. But he's been a bit underwhelming, hasn't he? Really, hasn't really done much.
All Cowboys have. Like, I think everyone just expected the Cowboys to be kind of like last year, but they've just been a bit underperforming.
Well, we know that they were definitely kissed on the with their draw. So, and they've only won 3 games so far. So, yeah, they've definitely been underwhelming. But but look, Drinkwater was a big out for them for 3 weeks. So, mind you, like that, he made a massive difference to their attack. Not saying that Tom Chester was no good, but he's no Drinkwater. That's for sure. And to be honest with you, I think Dearden and Townsend have been pretty disappointing this year too, as well.
Look, I might be completely off my rocker, but bear with me on this one. So you've got 2. I can see 2 options with your Egan. Well, actually 3. One of them's enough. trade out to enough, get your cash, right? That could be a very realistic option. Sometimes nothing is not a bad thing, particularly with the amount of trades we've got this year. Your next one is JMK, Jeremy Marshall King. Now, the top 3 averaging hookers are Grant by a fair way. Then it comes to Egan. Then it comes to Jeremy Marshall King. Better than Cook. Better than Robson. So why wouldn't you be considering at his cash point? Why wouldn't you be considering a Jeremy Marshall King if you could get up to him? Yeah, it's a matter of getting the cash up to him. It's not exactly a downgrade. It's I think they're nearly the same price. I'd have to have a look to confirm all of that, but I know he's definitely the third averaging hooker behind Egan and Grant. So he is not. I wouldn't discount that one at all. And everyone's going to your Cooks or your Robsons. Man, have a look at what the stats are telling you, and he is one actually standing out. The other one, of course, is Ray Stone. I think Ray Stone's still available in hooker.
He should be.
You can go to Ray Stone. We did speak about him earlier. That could be a very cheeky grab, particularly now he's starting. If he continues to get those minutes, well, you probably wouldn't play him every week, but he's certainly going to make a little cash coming up to, your buy time and that.
If you've got Harry Grant, you don't necessarily have to play your backup hooker. I probably wouldn't have enough though, because when Origin comes, you'll need to slot someone in. On JMK, the thing is, his first game and his last game, where he scored his both 89s, he had 2 assists in each of them. And then he also missed rounds 3 and 4. He's not the most reliable in terms of taking the pitch.
Yeah, that was only because he was suspended.
Yeah, that was a suspension.
That was a suspension.
You have a look at his game 2 score, which is absolutely atrocious. So it's brought his average down even further. So if you put back in the points for the suspension, his average is going to be even higher.
Yeah.
You'd have to consider that as well.
Yeah, I'm just not sure he can keep that attack up that he's been getting at the Dolphins.
But he's their main attacker. He's like another half. He's probably the buy of the year this year, I reckon, out of any team, to be honest with you. Like, look at their attack spin. Like, those 2 games he didn't play, their attack was terrible. And just the runs that he makes out of dummy half, the difference he makes to that team is just unbelievable. So I think, 588K, you couldn't go wrong. It's got a break even of 42, Brad. I think it's, it's a good option. I mean, that's something I've got to look at next couple of weeks, right? Because at the moment, my hookers are Grant and Hands from Parramatta, because I used him as a cash downgrade a few weeks ago, but I won't be running him as my main hooker come Origin, so I'll have to find some cash somewhere.
Well, I think Melbourne had the buy before Origin, actually, in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So you might have to look into all that. But, we'll see. I've had Hodgson since with Grant, and my thing was Hodgson plays all 3 buys, so I might just leave them 2 till the end and just play Hodgson in those buy rounds.
Yeah.
He'll at least get 80 minutes. Hopefully he gets a try in one of them. But, I don't know. I wouldn't spend my 600K. Like, I do like Robson and a Cookie maybe on a matchup, but they do have, like, Cookie especially has got that ceiling, which probably no other hooker, maybe apart from Grant, does. So that's maybe a little bit appealing, but at the moment, like, you'd rather spend in your halves and your fullbacks and just on those higher upside players.
I mean, you got Jaden Bradley out for a few weeks for the Knights, and you've got Phoenix Crossland sliding in at hooker, but he's not available at hooker though. That's the only thing. But he's at 274K. He could be potentially one to look at a 5'8" spot, depending on what sort of minutes he plays.
Yeah.
The same Brayley's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, big loss.
Could make you a bit of money.
All right, guys. So that gets us to the end of the trade outs and trade ins. Thanks, Roscoe. The next thing we'll quickly have a look at, captains, vice captains. What are your thoughts there? Who wants to shoot first with this one?
You already know mine. Mine's VC Trell into C Cleary.
Yep. And Guy?
I'm VC Turbo into C Cleary.
And I'll probably VC Cleary into, believe it or not, Walsh or Haas in the Broncos Titans game.
Wait a minute, Guy. Did you just say VC Turbo against Melbourne?
Yeah, at Brookie at Four Pines. Whenever Turbo plays at Four Pines, I don't care who it's against.
Did you not see his game last week? How
Yeah, against Penrith.
Yeah, no, but he's busted.
But Melbourne have been letting in points. They haven't been like Penrith in their defense.
Yeah,
that's the tea leaves talking again,
mate. You're the Manly supporter, Brad.
Yeah, he's Manly or is in Newcastle? Which one is he?
Oh, I got the Blues hat on.
You got
tonight.
it all, mate.
Yeah, I got it all happening. But no, I am Manly through and through.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else tonight, Roscoe? How's the elimination going? You're down to the two finals.
So the Matty Wilson fundraiser final was on this weekend. I haven't had a chance to check the final results, but congratulations to Ryan and to Troy who made the final. And I'll post up the results tomorrow. Big thank you to everyone who donated as well. And I believe both the guys who are in the final, I spoke to them both yesterday, and they're both going to donate the winnings back to Matty, which is fantastic. And we may also look at running another one at some stage too for those interested. And also a big thank you to Adrian from NRL Supercoach Pro, who also donated 2 subscriptions to the 2 winners and the winner and the runner-up as well. So thank you, guys. And just again, thank you to our sponsor, Bluebet, for jumping on board as well. Fantastic job, guys, from them as well.
Don't forget to bet responsibly.
Yes.
Deposit match up to $500 over the weekend from Bluebet, which was handy.
Yeah.
No, that was a very good one to get on. So they will be offering up a few more deals like that. So, just remember your limits. Don't bet over your head, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, bet with your head, not over it.
That's it. But thank you very much, Bluebet. We really appreciate your support. All right, anything else, Guy, before we wrap it up?
No, not too much. Enjoyed. It was a big week in terms of scoring. There were quite a few big tons, lots of movement, lots of big scores. I think it was 1,600, although it was a sniper team. Took it weekly score. But yeah, it's an interesting time of the year now that most people have kind of made their cash and built their cash up in their squads. Now it's kind of looking at maybe some pods or some upcoming buyer players, but try and take a few different routes to everyone else.
What do I think we had? I think we had, was it 15 tons this round, which is pretty big. Yeah, and there was some very much pod ones there in Sammy. Junior Tupu was a couple as well that both turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow or another, I ended up coming up against someone who had Junior Tupu as well. I don't know how the hell. But anyway.
I don't think we're getting towards the 2021 mayhem, the absolute madness that we saw then.
Yeah.
But we're certainly starting to see some rewards for some attacking plays being reflected in our Supercoach scores. And I haven't even heard too many people squawking about, why wasn't this try assist awarded and et cetera, et cetera. Shout out to Ado on that one. He's always one to be doing backflips and going mental if a team or player didn't get a try assist. They should have.
What's your thoughts on the head knock rule, Brad?
Well, it's necessary. It's going to be coming even more so. I think you'll find this is only the tip of the iceberg. That's my only personal opinions. So yes, it is a 10 down. 11-day stand down at the moment. I think you could even see that extended, particularly for people who've had multiples. That's my personal opinion. Don't ask me my opinion on these bloody what do they call them? These tackles that go around the back of the thighs.
Hip drops.
The old hip drops. God, that's one I do have an opinion about, and it's not that very flowery. I'll tell you. I'll be swearing like you wouldn't believe.
There was one Dragons game where the guy made the tackle from behind, like he had to pull him down, and then they gave a penalty, and then it's just like, well, what else is he meant to do? You can't just let the guy run. Like if you have to get him down, you have to get him down. But no,
Well,
my one with
this is my whole point too on that hip drop thing. I mean, was it last year or the year before with Luke Thompson copped 2 or 3 weeks towards the end of the season, where the bloke with the attacking player with the ball actually reversed into him. As a defender, what are you supposed to do? You've got to tackle them, and if they're reversing into you, what do you want the defender to do? Just let him go?
It's the same as contact and the head being a penalty. Like in terms of the Marty to Power one, some onus has to be on the ball carrier.
They deemed it as careless, not reckless, but careless. But look, yeah, I think I don't agree with it either. But look,
yeah, I just think if the head's almost close to the ground, like got to be some same with backing into tackles, ducking into tackles. I think onus on the ball carrier because it feels like the defender's just getting unfairly punished. Yeah.
Just before we finish up, a shout out to our mate Ado from Adrianosaurus. Despite the fact that he won his bet on Holmes, he still went and did the Annie dress up. So if you want to go and have a look at that, it's some site. Go to Supercoach by Adrianosaurus and see the big fella himself dressed up in a dress with a wig on. It's quite hilarious. So good on you, Ado. Well done.
All right, folks, do go have a look at that. He's a bit of a character around Supercoach circles, and he actually always puts out great content. So many thanks to Ado there. That's about it for tonight. I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you, Bluebet. Thank you to all our listeners. Have fun with your super coaching this weekend, and do get across a lot of our articles, which will be appearing on our Facebook page. And a big shout out to Timmy, who was to appear tonight, but is feeling a bit under the weather after competing in the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race recently. And I think he won his division or something like that, or he got some sort of prize for being the oldest racer out there. So congratulations.
Cheers, guys. See you next week. See you on Sunday.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Lads.